Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest Riker with the draft 2 days away. The news has been pouring in, whether it be rumors, news, botched trade attempts by the Philadelphia 76ers that I had to rant about at lunch during work today, Riker. This is a lot of stuff we have to break down in this NBA draft preview for the Toronto Raptors.
Bring it on, Ben. Bring it on. We said that Jonas Valanciunas, Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe trade was going to open the floodgates, and it seems like the rumors are steady flowing in now. It's the best time of the year, not just for views, not just for interest in the channel, but just for general involvement with what's going on in the NBA. So most people are excited about the draft. It's the real will they, won't they? Love triangle. Are we going to trade up? Are we going to trade down? Will Mobley fall into our hands? Are we going to get the original suck for Suggs? Where do you want to start, Ben? There's a lot to digest here.
Well, we'll start with the one that we kind of knew about as viewers crawl in, as viewers pop in. We got the cool little animations back, right? Here's clean on those photoshops with them. But Kyle Lowry, obviously our biggest free agent this offseason, he wants $90 million over 3 years in his big contract coming up. And there's a lot of teams, it seems like he's going to demand that type of money on the market. So, Riker, does this sound, and before we talk about potential destinations, sign-in trades with Kyle Lowry, does this indicate, is this a sure thing that the Raptors are not bringing back Kyle Lowry? Because that is a lot of money for a 35-year-old, a 3-year, $30 million contract per year, because that's what he's looking for.
And I've never seen more of a sure thing in my entire life, right? If you have no hair, you're bald. If you don't, you're not, right? Kyle Lowry is not going to get re-signed. These are sure things. So this is crazy. But you know who just cleared $46 million from their payroll? They're not re-signing Lonzo. They just traded away Steven Adams and Eric Bledsoe. All of a sudden, they're pretty light. Well, this is a tough one because they have $115 million already committed to their top three players, but Lakers only have 4 committed roster spots or guaranteed roster spots going into next season. There are technically suitors for Lowry, but man, $30 million at 30, what? How old is he? 36, 37?
He'll be 36.
Injury prone, right? Took a step back this year. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we got people in the chat talking Noti gang. We got Ignacio from Madrid. We got people all over the world tuning in, and Kyle Lowry, they're all over the world, and Kyle Lowry is definitely going to end up somewhere else in the world, it seems like, next offseason, because it's for a team that currently just this season with Kyle Lowry, even though we did tank the last year, and I think our record and our position in the draft and all these aren't necessarily as indicative as how bad the team was, we still weren't a great team last season. Even if we put it all together, we weren't at the level we need to be at. We're moving in a younger direction. We're hoping this new young core will be able to keep us. And as much as we'd love to have Lowry mentor this core and keep things together, and we'll see what's going to happen with Siakam and all that, but under the assumption Siakam stays and we don't completely blow up the roster, which might happen because the rumors and all of that seems like it's pretty possible. We'll talk about that, and we do have our first super chat before I say my take. Peasant Plays the GOAT. He was DMing me on the IG trying to get us going quicker. The first super chat of the day. He wants a little like spike. We'll play the like spike animation, but like spike in honor of Kyle Lowry's career, but it seems like he's going to be trying to go to a team that's more in a position to win next season rather than our young roster, who you and I both hope will be a top seed in the Eastern Conference, but probably doesn't have the experience or the superstar caliber player just yet to get right over the hump.
Are you talking the Raptors? Are you finally conceding the Raptors don't have what it takes to get over the hump? Is that your point?
No, he'll probably go to a team that's more like that has that established superstar that wants to pay Kyle Lowry big money, right? We're hoping one of our young guys turns into that, but it's not clear that that's there on our squad right now.
End of the day, moves could be made to improve this roster, potentially get out of the East. If the Bucks can win a championship, the Raptors, I'm pretty sure they won the regular season series against the Bucks, and the Raptors sucked. They were an absolute dumpster fire. So anything can happen. And we're only a couple of players, a couple of moves away. But I agree. We don't have the cap space for Lowry. That's way too much to pay him at his age, his productivity, his output, his history of injuries makes no sense. Ideally, we get value from him. That's why a lesser deal like Kyle Kuzma and Taylor Horton-Tucker, you would accept it because rather him go for something than go for nothing, right? And you would hope that sort of his commitment to the franchise and leaving on good terms, that if it was possible, he would somehow help the Toronto Raptors franchise. But it seems inevitable at this point that he's going to leave them.
Yeah, well, we'll be discussing a fun little sign-in trade involving Lowry, maybe one involving OG Fred and the fourth pick for a superstar for the best player later in the podcast. But I don't know. Is there, outside of the Sixers and that horrendous offer that they gave to us earlier that I ranted about, which is fun watch, maybe check that out after this one. But Ryker, would you want to see him go to the Heat, the Pelicans, the Mavericks, or the Lakers? Because those are the real four other teams that are sort of in the mix for Kyle Lowry at this point.
You talked me into enjoying the potential of him and DeMar reuniting in LA. So, of course, I'd like to see that one. Western Conference, I'd like the Raptors to beat that team. But if the Raptors fall short again in the playoffs or don't even make the playoffs, then a team with Lowry, DeMar, Los Angeles Lakers, LeBron, you have to support that team. But my heart tells me Dallas would be perfect for him. A guy that's willing to play off ball, that could really complement Luka Doncic, could be the veteran in the locker room.
I converted you to be a Dallas fan. I brought you over.
You embraced me. You didn't let me go. You squeezed until I could resist no more. Maybe it's Stockholm syndrome, or maybe it's just time to admit Luka Doncic, when he puts up a 48-point triple-double in his Olympics debut,
scored
he puts
more
up crazy
than
numbers.
The USA starting lineup.
More that's insane. But listen, the one thing that I will maybe give to their credit is that Luka Doncic grew up using the molten FIBA balls, which are significantly different than the Spaldings or whatever that the NBA plays with. So if you've played with both growing up, you too would know that the grip, it just feels different. It takes a while to adjust. But Dallas, that's what my heart says for Lowry.
You started your take. You wanted Lowry and DeMar to team up, and we have another super chat from Peasant Plays, obviously always coming up clutch in the super chat, saying we need to do Kyle Lowry a solid and send him wherever DeMar is playing. And that's what you said you wanted to see happen, right? The LA Lakers, they've been the team rumored. And honestly, we could have had another little segment, little graphic thing for the DeMar DeRozan. Do you see his Club Shay Shay sort of interview and talks about that?
No. What is it?
No? So basically he did an hour-long interview. There's a little snippet of it that was basically on the Raptors. He was talking in depth about the Masai Ujiri call that I wasn't really aware of at the point, because we heard rumors that they sort of mended fences, but DeMar DeRozan refused to say Masai Ujiri's name. There's 3 points where he was like, the man, and then Shannon Sharp would say Masai, and he'd be like, yeah. He wouldn't say Masai Ujiri's name on the podcast. He was reserving from that, said he was still shook about it until after the bubble. And he said when Masai Ujiri called him about the trade, he called him straight up. DeMar just hung up, didn't say a word, just ghosted him.
Tell you what, I mean, this is like a guy literally from Los Angeles, no reason to be loyal to Canada, and took in the country, took in the team, was willing to spend his entire career there, and to get absolutely blindsided. And it probably hurt his feelings too when the Raptors actually went on to prove him right, or prove all the haters right, when they won a championship in the immediate season following his departure. So that had to sting too. That couldn't have done anything, but that's interesting to hear. You said that the bridge has mended though?
Yeah, that's what we thought, but then we thought that was before the bubble. Apparently DeMar went in and said hey and asked Masai about his family, and then didn't say much there. But I don't know, I guess that wasn't the case. It was an interesting watch, the Club Shay Shay. DeMar DeRozan gets asked all the same questions all the time, so I kind of feel frustrated listening to those interviews.
I feel like nothing's happened in his life or his career since going to San Antonio.
I feel like there'd be more interesting questions if we had him on a Raptors Digest Live. But we have a couple of super chats, Ryker. One from the MDR Kingdom 2, saying not trading Fred VanVleet even for Embiid. Ryker, would you not trade Fred for Embiid?
You're tripping. I trade Fred for a lot of players out there. I'm less convinced on Fred.
Hey, you know, Fred's a goat. Fred's a goat. You probably take that Embiid deal, though. But Peasant Plays, he's back in the super chat saying, we need to move Kyle and make sure we get good pieces in return. Drop Baines and shop Pascal. I agree with the shop Baines, or drop Baines. We got a shop Pascal segment coming. I don't know what order we're sort of rocking in here, but, you know,
I think it's a good time to move on to the next segment, though. We're still on Lowry, I think.
Yeah, we're establishing that that Lowry's gone. It's unfortunate. Got his jersey. He's the main jersey staple behind me. But okay, do you want to do a little wave for Lowry? Quick little wave. Oh, it's a Raptors groat. You're only throwing a weak little wave in there, like a wax on, wax off. Oh, little twitch in the wave. It is what it is. But the next news, we'll dive into a big topic next, because this one it's fairly interesting. It's a developing situation, but the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have been randomly in the move for trying to trade up in this year's draft. They have the 6th pick. Obviously, they were trash this season. They were optimized tanking squad, as we called them, throughout this year's regular season, and they only ended up with the 6th pick. Obviously, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's proven to be an up and budding superstar, or at least star for them in the backcourt, and it officially came out that they offered Shai and 6 for the 1st pick in Cade Cunningham, and I might end up making a video on this on Courtside Digest. I want to say both teams are stupid in that situation. The Thunder is stupid for offering it, and the Pistons are even dumber for not accepting. I don't care how good Cade Cunningham is. You're getting 6 and a guy that's established all-star caliber player at age 23? Get out of here with that whack stuff. I don't know. I think it's foolish OKC thought about it. It's foolish to Detroit. Maybe I'm too high on Shai, but people are saying if they're willing to offer that for the 1st pick, even if it's not Shai, well, we can talk about Shai now. If we're swapping 4 for 6, could we get a player like Shai, like a Lou Dort from Oklahoma City in that potential trade?
To offer Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is spitting on the face of Canada, really, because this is one of the prime talents to come out. This would be similar to saying I'm going to trade Jamal Murray for the Raptors' 4th pick. You know, it's in that similar vein. I get it. Cade Cunningham, he might be the guy, right? He might be a Luka Doncic-esque player, but he's not right now. His college career didn't suggest that that's what he was either. He's the runaway 1st pick, but there's been plenty of 1st picks that haven't panned out to be the transcendent star. And when you have one that's basically there, right, giving you 20 points and 8 assists consistently on a terrible team, you don't even have a single good player around him besides Lou Dort, and to offer him up, that's crazy to me. That's insulting. I don't know. I wouldn't be super happy if I was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander knowing that as a fact. So your point too, does this mean that a guy like Lou Dort, he now actually could be on the table, right? Because they're willing to make those kinds of moves? I think, yeah. I think if we package up for and something else, it's possible.
Well, Peasant Place is coming in with a hot super chat. This is a hot super chat. This is a fire super chat. Malachi Flynn, Fred VanVleet. You're saying you're willing to move on from Fred VanVleet just earlier. And the 4th pick for Shai and 6. No? You're not taking that? Malachi, Fred, and 4 for Shai and 6.
Yeah. Yeah, you would take that. But
you take that?
Why would the Thunder take that?
Why would the Thunder take that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Fred VanVleet's a pretty nasty player. You're getting a young prospect in Malachi Flynn, and you're trading up in the draft. And then the Raptors, obviously, Shai is longer than Fred VanVleet. He's a player with a lot more potential, a lot younger, kind of fits our timeline. I guess Fred is a little bit older than their timeline as well, but they're still trading up, and he can be that veteran Chris Paul-esque guy. I don't know. Fred, it's tough, right? Because who's the better player, Fred VanVleet or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander? Just player right now. See, I'd probably argue Fred, but Shai's younger, right?
Shai had better stats this year before his injury.
Did he? Do you have Shea's numbers in front
I think
of you?
he did. I'll fact check myself here as you go.
Yeah. Fact check as we go, because I know Shea. Well, Fred VanVleet was averaging 21 points per game. He's our leading scorer this season. I think he was a little bit underrated just because of the year, but
Shea
obviously
was averaging more than that.
there's limitations to Fred VanVleet's finishing game, just going up underneath the rim, obviously. But he's a clutch guy. He's manned it in the NBA Finals. He's won a championship on the biggest stage, so that could be an interesting deal. I like that trade proposal by Peasant Plays, but the one I sort of had in mind, if you got the stats up there,
he is way better.
Way better?
So, yeah. 23, 6. So, Shea, 24 points per game, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 1 steal, and almost 1 block. Versus Fred's 19, 4 rebounds,
Fred
6
dropped.
assists, and 1.5 steal. So, Fred's probably a better defender.
Yep.
And he's obviously done it
Yeah,
under the limelight on the biggest stage, so take nothing away from that. But his interior finishing leaves a ton to be desired. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is a little bit younger, a little bit taller, a little bit more athletic. I would probably entrust Shai to lead a franchise more than Fred VanVleet to lead a franchise.
Yeah, Shai's that guy, and people are flaming me for saying Fred's better, but I didn't know the stats. I'm a Fred guy. I'm a Raptors diehard, but. Yeah, no, that's clear, and Shai's obviously younger too, so the value's there. Malachi, you'd let that go, and you probably draft a Scotty Barnes at that point at 6, because that's the fit. Now, obviously, we went on a diversion there. I had a little trade in my head, just straight up 6 and Dort for the 4th pick. Then you might make this contingent unless Masai's also.
What are you trading up to if you're OKC? You're trading away from.
You're trading Scotty Barnes or whatever. You're trading Scotty Barnes for Suggs.
For Suggs. Why would you make that deal?
I don't know. Suggs is one of those guys, a 4-player draft, Riker. He's got that potential. He's that next level
I feel like it's a 3-player draft.
Well, then we got finessed, and we've been lying for the past month, have we? Has Gilbert Arenas gotten in your head? Have you watched that YouTube video of Gilbert Arenas trashing it?
I'm getting in my own head that this is a 3-person draft because I haven't seen any hype around Suggs since the Raptors actually got the 4th pick, right?
Because it go to the
draft
Raptors.
Lottery, preceding the draft lottery, there was hype around the top 4. I haven't seen a single thing about Suggs since. Nothing. Not a single clickbait, no article, no titles, no Instagram pictures, no draft workouts, nothing. I haven't seen a single thing on Suggs. I'm convinced there's a conspiracy.
You say conspiracy? Conspiracy? I got that little animation. Haven't played that in a long time. We got that up. We got it at the end of the season. But maybe it's just the Raptors. They're putting out fake news on him and all those sorts of things. And we're trying to hype up Barnes. I don't even know. Masai Ujiri, he's playing 8, 16, 64 D chess this offseason with all the trades, all the sort of positioning in the draft. Who knows what's really going to happen? But, if they're high on Suggs, and the one thing about Suggs too, I just made a video on Courtside Digest, diving into the numbers of player comparisons, because obviously you and I don't watch college basketball at all, and I'm a big numbers guy, so just got the numbers, and Suggs was pretty tough. Didn't have that great player comparisons. Cade was pretty okay. Still had some tough guys there. So definitely check out that video if you want some in-depth analytics on the NBA draft players. So Suggs maybe he's a little bit lower, but if Scotty Barnes is there at 6 and you could get Dort, I know you and I sort of said that you don't trade down. You probably get that. But if you're able to acquire Dort and then Scotty Barnes, who I've creeped the highlights, I am very high on Scotty Barnes at this point. 6'8", 6'9", point guard level player, ridiculous at the defensive end. I think I might do that deal.
You might do for 2 players. You might trade 1 4th pick for the 6th pick and Dort. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I might do that.
Why is there contemplation there? Why would you not trade 1 for 2?
What do you mean? We have 4. They have to give us an asset to be better.
Yeah, you said you might do it. What is holding you back from doing that? There's no.
Suggs
there's
is good.
No
Suggs is nice. You're a Suggs hater. You've been a Suggs hater.
He's a player that has no open position right now. He'd have to compete for minutes with Malachi Flynn. We're drafting an out of position player.
You're a Suggs hater, but we got a couple of super chats, Riker. We got a couple of super chats coming in. Paul Blunt, he says, "Let Lowry walk, save money, and offer Allen a bag." Well, we got some Mobley Allen talk coming up, Paul Blunt. So we also made a video on it. We're pretty high on Jared Allen. We think he's a nice fallback option if we can't get to Mobley or if there's no other sort of centers in the works, but that's definitely coming. You want to give a little preview before we dive into that?
Yeah, I think it's a good segue. We just concluded our talk about Suggs. We got some talk about Mobley. This is a draft preview after all, Ben, so let's continue our previewing of the draft.
Yeah, that's fair. And Peasant Place is coming in saying, "Let Paul Blunt walk, spend money, and re-sign Danny Green," with another super chat. What are your thoughts on that? The two legends in the super chat doing battle with their chats.
Nothing's ever wrong with a 3-and-D player, but we don't need to dwell on stuff that's not in the news when there is ample things to actually break down, legitimate articles, reports, rumors. So again, let's move on to Mobley, Ben.
Yeah, let's move on to Mobley. And this guy seems to be the guy that the Toronto Raptors want. This is the player. The Athletic came out today and reported that the Raptors have, because there's been talks that a lot of teams have tried to trade up with Cleveland to acquire Mobley, get into that position, and the Cavs are still very high on drafting Mobley. It's probably who they're going to take at 3. But it was an emphasized article by The Athletic today that the Raptors are doing a lot to trade up for Mobley, and it makes a lot of sense, right? Just to reiterate the things we've gone over before, Mobley, stretch big, looking like he's going to be a stretch big man in a couple years, can shoot the mid, he's a good free throw shooter, athletic, plays defense, literally everything you want out of a modern day NBA big man, and we don't have centers. Perfect fit. We have great players at every other position besides center. What would you be willing to give up to acquire Evan Mobley?
This is the enigma. This is the old catch-22. I wouldn't give up anything for Evan Mobley, despite wanting him profoundly, profusely. If I was a better thesaurus, I'd have more similes to give. But here's the thing. Who would our incentivizing trade pieces be with Cleveland to trade up? Obviously, you're going to give them the 4th pick. We're not trading Gary Trent Jr. We're not trading OG, right? We're not trading Pascal Siakam for it. I feel like Chris Boucher's the guy that you might be able to wave in front of them plus our 4th, but you're taking away our entire front court bench depth just to get back a guy that you're gonna have to develop. We've both come to a very clear consensus that it takes a couple of years to develop NBA bigs, right? Yep. You can look at any over the past couple of years that were high draft picks. Yep. They came into their own after the first 1 or 2 seasons. So I just don't see who we could use or who we could leverage to trade up. And I wouldn't trade most of our starting lineup despite having that positional need.
Well, I'll run through a couple. I'll fire up the trade machine, right, girl? Fire up the trade machine. Malachi and Boucher and 4 for nope. 3.
No,
you would not do that?
Boucher. No.
You wouldn't do that? Okay, makes sense. Do you think just straight up this year's first and an unprotected first next season? And it's unprotected, so they got that risk. They got that chance. It's a number 1 pick, right? Hold them out that hope.
Well, what if we're good? Then it doesn't mean anything to them.
But what if we're bad, right? And then the Cavs accept it. Would you not give up a unprotected pick?
Yeah, I do. I would do that trade as the Raptors, but I don't. We have all the other pieces, right? Mm-hmm. If you're keeping Siakam, which apparently that's not a sure thing. But, if you are assuming Fred VanVleet's point guard of the future, OG is our small forward of the future, Pascal is our power forward of the future, you get a transcendent potential center that has comparisons to Chris Bosh, you're pretty set. You don't need to have a bunch of picks. You can run with that squad for a couple of years because the timeline works.
I like that you're shouting out my little analytics video. I'm very proud of it, so definitely check that out at some point. Throw it up in another tab if you just want to scroll through it. But we do have a couple super chats too. I don't want to miss out on the Peasant Plays super chats. He's saying Scotty Barnes also can't shoot, but Scotty Barnes is going to be in the Raptors development system, and he literally, go watch highlights of Scotty Barnes. He looks exactly like a young Pascal or a young OG, right? They move the same, but with already the handle and the passing ability. So this guy is going to be Michael Jordan when he comes to the Raptors. That's all I have to say about him. And then a second one for Peasant Plays. The Cavs will draft Mobley because Kevin Love wants to leave. Yeah, they're going to draft him regardless. I guess Jarrett Allen, and we can sort of segue this into this discussion with Jarrett Allen, because are they going to keep him and Mobley together? Right? Maybe that's something that Masai Ujiri is saying, oh, I'm really interested in Jarrett Allen because maybe they don't draft Mobley or something weird like that. You know, we can play the conspiracy theory segment again, but Ryker, are you cool with sticking at 4 and then giving the bag to Jarrett Allen? Has your take sort of changed over the last couple of days, especially with the Pascal Siakam rumors emerging?
Well, don't context it based on what's going to happen with Pascal Siakam, because that's deserving of much more elaboration. Okay. But same challenges as if you're paying a guy what he wants, $20 million or $25 million a year, $100 million total. He's not far off based on Rudy Gobert setting the new standard for, you know, the lowest quality big man getting the maximum amount of money. That's just where we're at in today's NBA. You know, if 17 and 15 gets you 200 million and you're 13 and 10, maybe that is $100 million worthy. Now, he probably can't defend very well out of the perimeter to our standards based on optimal small ball line, shoot the 3 at volume. So we're still going to be lacking on the things that, you know, Serge Ibaka had that we were unwilling to re-sign. So it would be a questionable move, but, you know, you'd have to look around at what the rest of the free agency class is. And he's only 22. He's one of the best available. He does all the things that Raptors would want him to do besides those 2 points mentioned. I'd probably make the move. I'd probably sign.
Yeah, he'd be a really nice fit. He'd be a nice fit for this team. You know, the Raptors just need a center. They need someone to come in and not be a insurance pylon. So we'll see what happens.
They need a starting center. A starting center. Kem Birch, he can be a solid backup. And, you know, if we have to overpay, we have to overpay because that's just life. We have the chat popping off. Got Luca in the chat, so people are calling for collabs. Repping there. We got a super chat from Arco. Is the segment playing? There it is. Missed a lot of the Raptors news, but I am excited to see what's happening next for the Raps. Before we pivot out of draft, because that's ultimately what this is.
Yep.
Right? Draft preview.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying we're not trading up. I don't see the package to Cleveland. That makes sense. Maybe we trade down. If you're whispering Lou Dort, I don't hate that. If something could happen.
Give me Dort. Give the defense.
My preview for it is what it is. We're getting 4, right? There's a lot of smoke and mirrors happening, Ben. I think this one, it's looking like it could go 100 different ways. I'm thinking roster shakeups and building around whoever we draft. It's crazy. I don't know if you can build around a guy at 4, but it happens all the time that sort of those lower top players become, you know, the top players in the NBA. Have you been completely persuaded? You've mentioned this guy's name a bunch of times, Scotty Barnes. Is he the man? If 4th pick rolls around, Raptors are on the clock. Are they picking Scotty Barnes over Jalen Suggs when this was a 4-man draft? When this was a 4-man draft and Jalen Suggs is that 4th man? Has he been phased out? Have I convinced you negatively?
My heart is torn because I look at Suggs and I'm like, this guy's a winner. He's Kyle Lowry. He's the next evolution of Kyle Lowry. A star coming into Toronto and just right from the bat, getting into that Raptors development system. He can dunk, he can shoot, he can pass, he can lead. He can do everything. So I will not be disappointed if we get Suggs. Okay? Will not be disappointed.
What do you mean if we get him? That's who we can get if he's there.
Scotty Barnes. People go watch
him with the 4th.
Go watch Scotty Barnes highlight. See, that's why I want Dort. I I'm not sold enough to be like, okay, let's draft him over this guy, right? Because Suggs, it's the sure thing, and obviously, but the analytics are saying Scotty Barnes might be better, the Iguodala-ish player, but that's what the stats are alluding to. But Scotty Barnes, he's so big, he can dribble. He's literally a 6'9" point guard that, his mechanics as shooting is a question mark, but you can develop those things. His jump shot isn't broken looking, so that's something you can work with. But the way he passed the ball, it's literally like having another OG Anunoby. And people say we overrate OG, and those people can stop. You can stop saying that, because OG is a beast. Masai Ujiri came out. We'll talk about it more in the Pascal Siakam sort of segment, but with OG, Masai Ujiri does not want to move on from OG. He's willing to move on from Siakam, not OG, even though Siakam's formerly an All-NBA second team player. So I just see so much of OG and Scotty Barnes, plus the ability to dribble and pass. So I don't know, maybe the 3-point shot's not there. That's why I'm cool with either, especially if we can get Dort on top of it, because Dort's my guy. Someone's asking for Dort's stats, and he's just a beast. He's a manimal on defense. But we have a couple super chats. Riker Paul Blunt saying, I'd take Simone Biles over trading down. That's the gymnastics, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think she disappointed this year or something. She said she was all in her mental, and I don't know, disappointed. They still got silver. That's what I hear. The team gymnastics. I don't know how she did individually, but
yeah, I heard she's
4'11". I think that's what maybe his point is.
Oh, okay. Maybe. Okay. Wild stuff. I haven't really been following that closely. I haven't been that into the Olympics yet this year. Maybe because the Canadian basketball team broke our hearts and just didn't do anything. But and then Peasant Plays coming in with another super chat saying, I'll take Simone Biles over Ben Simmons. Would you take Simone Biles over, I hope I pronounce her name right, may as well just give myself the Charles Barkley, because that's, precautionary, but would you take Simone Biles over Ben Simmons, Riker?
I don't want to bring this off the rails, but we'll conclude maybe the draft talk with, you like Scotty Barnes, eye test it's indicating the right things, but by the stat sheet, right, Suggs was on a better team. They went deeper in the playoffs. He has a more well-rounded stat line. I think Scotty Barnes is 10-4-4, a steal and a half. Jalen Suggs is 14-5-5 and 2 steals. He does it better in every single category than Scotty Barnes at a fraction of the height. So
Scotty Barnes is off the bench, though. He was off the bench.
Well, typically you're off the bench for a reason, Ben. So are we underrating Jalen Suggs at this point because he hasn't been hyped enough in the media leading up to this draft? I don't know. Let us know what you guys think. I think it's most likely we're going to get the 4th. We're not going to trade that pick. But Ben, what we could trade is players. Switch over to the next thing. Wherever you want to start, man, because there are some crazy rumors finally starting to come in with traction.
We out here, the shopping cart. Because the Raptors are shopping. They are shopping Pascal Siakam. It came out from Jake Fisher from Bleacher Report saying he's had a few reports. He's the one that broke the Pascal Siakam's available. We did a video on that, but he dove more into depth on that today, talking about how comparing Siakam, because obviously an All-NBA talent similar to the other guys that are on the market, at least in terms of accolades. Actually, he has a championship over some of the other guys, Bradley Beal, Damian Lillard, but the Blazers, the Wizards, they're hearing the talks. They'll answer the phone when it comes to those superstar players, while we are picking up the phone and we're calling everyone else about our superstar player. So he is available. The Raptors are actively shopping Pascal Siakam at this point, and I don't really know how I feel about this. I obviously would be comfortable with trading Siakam for the right package, but the fact that when you're shopping a player, it's usually indicative that you're willing to take something a little bit less back. You're just trying to move on from him. There's a fake tweet going around. I got it sent to me a few times that the Siakam's demanding a trade or wants out of Toronto. That was fake news. Dove into more depth about that. But if we're shopping Siakam, do you think he gets moved in the next day or so, Riker?
Park that question. I'm business. You're kind of business now. You love reading in on it, Freakonomics or whatever. You were saying you had some sort of literature around it. Ben, what
I got that
happens?
entrepreneurship minor, sir.
What
that minor.
happens to a company's stock price when ownership that owns significant portion of shares starts selling a bunch of their shares? That stock price goes down because it's a sign, it's an indication that something's wrong, that the ownership, the management, they're no longer committed, or they're seeing something that the rest of the world isn't, that the public investors are not. I'm thinking this is the same situation. You have a superstar player, your max contract guy, your number one option guy that signed on with this franchise. He didn't even demand a trade, and you're aggressively shopping him. To me, that's a sign that something is wrong. Something's wrong with this guy, and you want him out. So just by virtue of that, you're going to get lesser deals. You don't have that same sort of clout, that same sort of attraction than when your guy just demands the trade, because now all of a sudden people are like, oh, they want to get in on that excitement. So will it happen right now? I'm not sure, but I'm more so worried on what are we going to settle with if it does have to happen prior to the trade or before the season starts, Ben?
Well, the thing about it is these superstars, they really are saying that they're likely going to demand their trades prior to the draft. They're going to give their home teams respect enough to say, okay, well, if you want to rebuild, you can move me before. Same way Anthony Davis did, I guess. He did through the middle of the season, but they made their trade before so they can make their draft picks on their own rather than just trading for already pre-drafted players. So Bradley Beal specifically the big name, and it was brought up that obviously teams have been asking, and Ben Simmons is also the talks. The Raptors are the main suitor for Ben Simmons. We'll dive into him after, but the teams are asking about OG Anunoby, who in theory would have less trade value, and they're asking about Fred VanVleet, but especially OG Anunoby. Apparently Masai Ujiri is extremely reluctant to even throw OG Anunoby out in anything, which I am in agreement with. I think OG is our best asset in my opinion. Maybe that's a hot take, but his defense, his potential, all those sorts of things, and he's locked up under an extremely reasonable contract over the next few years. OG is untouchable in my opinion, but relatively untouchable. Give us Giannis and then we'll talk. But if Siakam's the guy we're moving in that, and if those superstars are available, Beal, Simmons, like that's the chatter. But if Siakam catches wind of this, maybe we'd have to do something like the Wiseman trade. Would you want like a deal such as the Wiseman trade, or would you rather Siakam and a few assets for a more established star?
I don't think that trade exists, and I don't want to swap Siakam for Ben Simmons. I don't care if we swap Siakam for Simmons and Tybal and Maxey and whoever else you want to throw in there. Doesn't seem worth it to me, because you have a guy that chokes even more, that you maybe can't play down the stretch of a game because he can't shoot his free throws, confidence, his aggressiveness, right? Similar questions that we had with Pascal Siakam. Can he close? Does he have the confidence to lead a team? Is he why is he playing so up and down? Just much more extreme with Ben Simmons. That's really the only deal that I see, unless we could get in on the Beal sweepstakes, but sweepstakes. But why would we trade away for another guard and deplete the front court even more? So at this point, I think rather than have a discontent star that knows he was aggressively shopped and now he's just going to be looking for a way out, or he's going to be unengaged with the team, I'd do the Wiseman-Wiggins trade, because it seems like they've backed themselves into a corner. How can you keep Siakam after actively trying to dump him off your roster when he's fully committed?
Yeah, I think it's dumb to just trade him straight up, and obviously those picks would have to be added in the Warriors deal, but and you got to be high on Wiseman, but I'm not in the camp that we have to move Siakam. Yes, he has the shoulder injury. Yes, there's been that Nick Nurse drama that happened throughout the year. That was brought up a lot when the fake rumor came out that Siakam wanted out from the team. Oh, he's still beefing with Nick Nurse from that time they benched him or whatever in the fourth quarter. But I think things will mend once we have an actual roster around us. And Siakam was great even after Kawhi left. Remember, it's really the bubble where Siakam fell off completely. We were talking about him as a top 10 player in the NBA the season after Kawhi left. So this is where he could potentially get back to. The shoulder injury is again, very discouraging and worrisome, I guess, for Raptors fans. And as you mentioned, maybe Masai knows more than the rest of the league does. So we'll see what happens with Pascal Siakam and those blockbuster trades. Obviously, Bradley Beal is the guy everyone's waiting on, and I guess Damian Lillard. It seems, there was that report that Damian Lillard's going to demand a trade in the next 2 days and just didn't. So it's I'm assuming Dame's going to stay in Portland at least for the rest of this season. Nurkic, that's what he was saying and all that. Bradley Beal will find out, I guess, over the next couple days, because that was officially not a Woj bomb per se, but a Shams bomb. I've been saying it. I gotta just get a second button for Shams, because they're the big fish. They're the big reporters in this. So that's the Siakam drama, and we may as well get into our final segment before we hear from everyone else's takes in the chat. We get the alarm sounded. Ben Simmons blasphemy, Riker. I sounded off on this today. I had a passionate rant against the trade offer that was given to us by the Philadelphia 76ers. Sixers fans are saying, oh, it's the same thing the Raptors were asking for Kyle Lowry at the trade deadline. No, you were stupid for not accepting that. It was a perfectly good trade. You probably would have won the championship if you accepted that trade, but no. And then they come out and just... they insult the Toronto Raptors with that trade offer. If you want to talk about it, remind people what this trade's all about.
I made the analogy, Ben. If you're a business shareholder of a public company, you're an owner, you're part of the management group, you're selling off your stocks, perks up the ears of all the public shareholders, it's an indication that something's probably wrong. Well, in this case, let's say you're a chef on a TV cooking show and you burn your souffle, and then you go online and try to sell that burned souffle as like premier souffle after everyone watched it just completely go to garbage. That's Ben Simmons. Everybody watched the absolute collapse of this man's career. It can probably be revived, right? It could probably be revived at the center position on a system that uses him, doesn't expect too much from him, can maybe build up his free throw shooting a little bit, but you don't have to run him at point guard. You can let him be your rebounder, your wing to point passer, and sort of the defensive anchor. Treat him the same way that you treated Marc Gasol. Perfect, right?
Yep.
This trade, all of a sudden, what is this? LeBron James, right? Giannis, Kevin Durant. I mean, I would still struggle to trade Fred, Lowry, OG, and a pick, even if Kevin Durant was offered to us, Ben. For Ben Simmons, who sucked, they can't get him off their roster quick enough. That is insane to me. It's insane.
Yeah, it's absurd. Just to reiterate, they wanted the 4th pick, Lowry, Fred, and OG. What even is that? What?
And you and I were saying, would you give Lowry in the 4th pick?
No, we were saying Lowry the 4th pick. We were just saying Fred straight up and 1 for 1. That's the level we were talking about. We're like, okay, maybe Fred and Boucher, max.
Which would improve Fred
the Sixers.
And Simmons 1 for 1 would improve the Sixers.
1000%, especially if they got because you'd probably have to give a little bit of compensation because Simmons is a bit more established, I'd say, in terms of all-stars, this, that, and whatever. But we do have a super chat from Derek McCurdy saying that 100% agree, Philly are imbeciles. Simmons isn't a real number 1 pick anymore. That's obvious. I think we need to move on from Philly's clown show. And for all the points Riker brought up, I'd still enjoy the circus. I'd still enjoy just chilling in the stands, seeing if someone throws us one of those pies that was initially thrown to someone's face gets delivered onto the sidelines, and we pick up Ben Simmons. Wouldn't mind that. We get him for a proper deal. But yeah, if they're going to be offering this chicanery, if they're going to be doing this silliness, right, we gotta just stop it and hang up the phone whenever Daryl Morey calls. But Riker, obviously Ben Simmons, right? He's an interesting fit. He's this, that, and whatever. But what would you give up for Ben Simmons in a potential trade?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I'd still trade for Ben Simmons. Yeah. I would still make that trade because everybody hates it. They hate it so much because Ben Simmons doesn't have winner's mentality and he can't shoot his free throws. And why is he getting paid so much money? Well, remember, he almost averages 10 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 points per game. You play him as a center. that's fantastic stats for a center, right? And he would be rivaled probably only to Jokic as the best passing center in the NBA. And look what happened on our roster when we had the playmaking of Marc Gasol. And unarguably, Ben is a better playmaker and a better defender because he majority guards point guards. So he can play out of the perimeter, right? You can play him on switches. You can have him clog the paint. He's a big dude that put on a lot of muscle in the NBA. So there's probably only 3-4 guys in the NBA that could properly bully him down the low block. So for all of those reasons, you know, if it was Fred VanVleet, yeah, I'd make that trade. If it was Lowry in the fourth, I'd make that trade. If it was Lowry the fourth and Boucher, this is where it's starting to get to scary territory for me because, again, you're trading for a guy that's not actually a center, but you'd want to play him at center, and you're trading away our real only front court depth off the bench. So it's probably like one of our point guards and our pick, and then maybe like a deep bench guy is the max I'd be willing to go for Ben Simmons.
Yeah, no, for sure. And we have a couple super chats, Riker. Peasant Plays is saying Pascal is number 2 at best. Name a successful team where their number 1 option averages Pascal's numbers. Are we competing now to win now or later?
Miami Heat 2 seasons ago.
Made it to the NBA Finals? Is that the season you're talking about?
Yeah, Jimmy Butler had Pascal Siakam stats.
No,
like that's 20 points and 6-7 rebounds.
There you go. Riker's calling out the takes there. And then Paul Blunt saying it jumped away from me. Peasant Plays dirty socks are worth more than burnt Simmons souffle. Would you give a Peasant Plays dirty socks a max contract, Riker? Because that's what we'd be bringing in Ben Simmons.
I'm trying not to dive into the weirdness. Ben Simmons has a lot to offer as a basketball player. Yeah, his scoring isn't there. It's not up to par with what you'd want from a starting NBA point guard. But a 10-point triple-double as a center? I mean, that's max contract territory.
Yeah. He's
and then all you have to develop is his jump hook. You don't even need to develop his shot.
Yeah, if the Raptors could come in and develop that sort of just any bit of a midi, any bit of anything, then that dynamic on the wings, that would be just too good. And the Raptors are obviously the main team that are focused in on Ben Simmons. So it's we'll see what happens. The Raptors are the only team that have offered a serious trade proposal, apparently. I guess we did have that Brogdon in a first that the Sixers turned down earlier. And this is the one thing I was thinking in my head that I wanted to say, you know, the souffle, you use the souffle analogy, obviously the souffle, right? The mini LeBron, the next LeBron James, young Prince, as LeBron had him under his wing. Obviously, that gets burnt off. And then we had the Simmons after the playoffs that wouldn't dunk and all that, right? So he's just the egg white inside the souffle that maybe you could throw into some other blender. I don't even know. Blend it into a cake and build it up, recook it into a center position. But now, one reason his trade value has dipped even lower, Riker, and something people aren't talking about. There's a report that came out today. The Sixers haven't been able to get in touch with Ben Simmons since the playoffs. He's just been ghosting his franchise. Like, is this not something that's a pretty big issue? That's something to really look at. That's indication that they probably are in a more desperate situation than we really realize.
It's a big mark of immaturity from Ben Simmons' camp because I get it. There's some bitterness there. Team went down. All the reporters are instantly blaming you with good reason, right? The team is trying not to blame you, but ultimately it's very clear that they're pointing the fingers at you. You're still a young guy. You feel like you don't deserve all the flack, but your best season statistically was still your rookie season, so you can't be too high on your own horse there, buddy. But all that said, right, you can have a little bit of a bad taste in your mouth after the way that it played out, but we're a couple of weeks past now since they've been eliminated. To not pick up your phone, if that is the case, that's immaturity. And that's the same reason a lot of people, besides injuries, are hesitant to make a deal for Porzingis because same thing, immaturity, locker room nuisance, right? Inability to get along with coaching staff, etc. So you do take a risk because the personality needs to work too. Same thing with coaches, right? Yeah, they can be a great coach. Personality still needs to fit. So I agree with what you're saying, Ben.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then, you know, it hurts, you know, his value coming in, but it also makes him a little bit less attractive for the Raptors. So there's that dichotomy there, but we want to lower that value and just build him up, right? We're trying to take that dirty egg in the middle souffle. I made souffle once, didn't realize it was going to have that ugly egg taste.
We got to stop with the souffle references because I don't even know what it actually is. That was the first.
I didn't know what it was either. I saw it on like a baking thing, like on one like Tasty or something. I just assumed it was like a cake, right? Ate it, and it's like an egg pastry. It tastes like egg. It was freaked me out, right? So I guess that's a good analogy for Ben Simmons. You take a bite into it, you don't know what you're gonna get. But Ryker, before we, a specific alarm sounds off, right? Before an alarm sounds off, it looks like we may have had a trade. Apparently, Tyler Johnson has been traded. We'll see if we get more stuff in the chat about that. I just wanted to Meth Curry. My guy Meth Curry, he's been traded so to the Raptors. Hopefully, we'll see. But let us know what you guys say on that. Throw it in the chat. But mini take. I think his old teammate. I don't know if they ever played together. But on his old team, his replacement, Tyler Hero. Heat are reluctant to add Tyler Hero to a sign and trade with the Raptors. That's different than the hard no they were saying at the trade deadline when Lowry probably had more value.
Heat are what to sign and trade Hero?
The Heat are reluctant to trade Tyler Hero. That's a step up from hard no.
That's true. That's true. Because if you creep Heat subreddit, they're basically saying, we get it. Hero is our most tradable asset right now. And we need to make moves because we want to drop Dragic. We want to drop Kendrick Nunn. We want to drop Iguodala. Right? Precious Achiuwa is good. He's not that guy. And Jimmy Butler, we had a good run, but that's not enough with him and Bam.
Yeah.
So, and do we want to re-sign Duncan Robinson for $20 million, which he'll get paid somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
The Pelicans want him.
Their fan base is saying, we get it. We were saying Hero's our man. We're not trading him, but he is our most tradable piece. So they're even coming around to it. So that's usually a reflection of how management is thinking too, is how the mass public is thinking, right? Apparently, because if everybody's been hating on Siakam all season, now we said no way, and now he's being shopped, then clearly, the mass is a reflection. So
yeah, if your whole fan base wants someone gone, you're losing tickets, you're losing jersey sales if you keep them around. But Ryker, that's a lot of the news that we sort of dove into. I don't know if we're missing anything here. I gotta playing all the segments. Yeah, it's looking like we've hit on all the news. But Ryker, as with any live stream, a certain alarm tends to go off at this time of the live. Will I be sounding the alarm solo today again, or are you gonna swallow your pride?
Run it and you'll see then. Or you'll hear more accurately.
Beep 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 beep
beep beep. That's right. The final alarm has sounded. It's been a proper alarm for the first time since the season ended. What? Long time ago, Ryker. It's been forever since the Raptors have played. But we are creeping the chat. We're looking at your takes. We want to see what you guys have to say. We got Dropser Popper? Can't read. Would Detroit do Fred VanVleet, Boucher and Flynn, I guess, and a future first for Corey Joseph? For one in Corey Joseph. Yeah. I was going to say, that's a lot for Corey Joseph, my guy.
For Corey. Nothing is too little for Corey Joseph. I mean, you probably make a trade for one. You would trade, you'd trade Fred VanVleet for one, obviously.
No, would the Pistons do it?
Oh, would the Pistons accept that? No, absolutely not.
Yeah. If they're not taking Shea.
Fred VanVleet is as close to his ceiling as he's possibly going to get in his career, right? Mm-hmm. He does not have much room to improve. As a not super athletic 6-foot guard, you are going to be a good dribbler and shooter. That's it. What else do you have to build on?
Yeah, no, that's a fair one there. Trent is being brought up. I see a lot in the chat. what's it called? He's apparently requesting. He's hoping for 20 million plus per year in his contract. The reason why we traded Norman Powell because we didn't want to pay him that much money. We're gonna give that money to Trent Riker.
We gotta.
Yeah, we have to. You know, it's
Yep.
we're not letting him walk, but I'd hope it's gonna be if OG's getting 18, there's no way Trent's getting 20. That's my take. Is that a fair take to say?
It's not fair. If he's saying 20, he's gonna get 20. That's I pegged 20. I pegged 2021. I think you can run the tapes back. You always thought 17, 18.
I'm a 17, 18 guy, but we'll see on that. Peasant Plays, he's asking about the anime. We haven't gotten an anime update, Riker, from you in a while.
Episode 486 of series 2. Ben, I've almost watched all 725 episodes of Naruto, and then I have like
750?
yeah, there's 500 episodes in series 2 and there's 240 episodes in series 1. So I've watched all 240 series 1, Shonen Jump, and now I'm on Shippuden, so I have like 14 episodes of that left. I've been flying through it.
Bruh, I have I struggled to get through the 5 episodes of Loki or 6 episodes of Loki. Loved it though. Quality
I've
show.
seen one episode and it bored me to sleep.
You're just
not
a
get through
Marvel hater, sir, for some things. You know, you're a superhero movie hater. I'm a big Marvel guy for people in the chat. You get your anime fans, I get the Marvel fanboys in the chat, you know? We'll see who wins out the battle, the civil war. Also should say we haven't plugged a little like spike yet. Got this random man's pulling out on this segment, but Lowry, Boucher, and a second, and a future first for Simmons. It's from Mohammed Paracha. Hope I pronounced that right.
Jonas,
Give myself the Charles Barkley. Thoughts?
You said a bunch of names I never even heard of.
Lowry, Boucher, and a second, and a future first. Does that get it done for Simmons?
Lowry, Boucher. Well, he just proposed a trade that sorry, I got a yawn. You go ahead.
Someone's
All right,
roasting.
I'm back.
Okay.
He just proposed a trade that I said, this is where it starts to become uncomfortable to make the trade because you're depleting your front court depth off the bench in Chris Boucher for a guy who's not a center, but you're asking him to play center. So too much risk to go trading Boucher, our pick, right? Like our young guys, our core group.
Yeah. No.
Lowry is, at this point, we said at the beginning of the podcast, he's as good as gone anyway. So you trade him for whoever you want. But
Yeah.
put Lowry into any trade possible because
It's
we're
a
not
positive.
keeping him anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Peasant Plays, he's saying, all I gotta say, Mike Guy, 8 Gates. Don't know. Is that a reference to anime, Riker? Or am I?
Who?
Peasant Plays saying, all I gotta say is Mike Guy, 8 Gates.
Mighty guy, 8 Gates. It's like there's like special ninjutsus that they use, and then taijutsu is like when they just do like fighting, and then it's like this special taijutsu where you can like unlock more of your body's potential. So
We got your audio coming in random places. Gonna make sure that's feeded into the talk, Riker. How's the audio sound in chat?
talking.
Okay, I think
Is it coming through?
the audio's back. Got the quick fixes on here. People are saying they liked Loki, and then you know, people are liking Loki. I'm looking through the chat. Do you have the chat pulled up, Riker?
No, I didn't want to slow down my stream.
That's fair. Yeah, the visuals, the audio, it's been tough lately, but we're figuring it all out. Riker invested in some camera equipment.
No camera equipment.
We're
I did. I invested it all
Yeah.
for the Rode, like the GoPro plus Rode mic, and the Rode mic doesn't even work. Or the GoPro, none of it works. So big
the
waste
mic
of
Riker
investment.
got doesn't work for this. Or the wires. We had the mics, but and the camera, because we were hyping up. The lighting's a lot better. The lighting's a lot
The
better.
lighting is great,
Yeah.
right? This is the difference. This was previous lighting. I don't need it. I'll show real quick.
Yeah, you gotta
Previous
show
lighting
it,
would
show
have
it
been
to the
like
squad.
this, right? New
Yep.
new lighting, revolutionary. Comes on. Perfect.
Yeah. No, it's a fresh take. We got a Ralph Boner reference in the chat from Paul Blunt. I wanted to shout that out. But yeah, gotta keep hitting those super chats so Riker can get the camera.
No, don't hit the super chats so Riker can get to bed. It's 12 o'clock Ben's time. When's the actual draft, Ben? Are we going live for the actual draft?
Oh, we're going live. I'm having a little draft party here, so it might be hectic in the background, but that's how we like it. We got the 4th pick. I know it was a little hectic watch party at the end, but you know, it's gonna be exciting times. You gotta stay subscribed to Raptors Digest. You gotta have the bell noti going, you know, for the stuff. I'm keeping an eye on the chat, seeing what people are saying. Fits well with
we
Raptors.
got that clean hour. It's perfect to wrap it up, Ben.
Is it Booker or Donovan Mitchell, Riker? Sirajul Hug.
I think Booker is probably better right now.
That's fair. Donovan Mitchell was nice when he was healthy. But
yeah.
Paul Blunt, did Kendall Jenner date Riker's mic?
What?
It's a yes or no question, sir. Oh, quiet. Okay. Blinky. Oh, it's your mic. You've heard it here. He looks like Blake Griffin, so he's definitely got with Kendall Jenner, as they say. And you guys are underrating Suggs. He's already better than Flynn. Suggs is better than Flynn. I don't think anyone's arguing.
There was no question there.
Yeah. Even though
we never debated that.
That's facts. Peasant Plays is coming in with a big super chat. Get that animation going. Here's $15 for Riker to get one of those miniature mics that they use in TikTok. I think you got one of those miniature. Did you try to get one of those?
Yeah. And guess what brand it is? Rode. And it's not compatible with Mac, the worst laptop brand out there. Apparently.
Don't hate on Macs. They're like heroin. That's my illusion. Like, I'm sure heroin.
They build up
really
a dependency
good.
And then they create a bunch of complementary products and phased out all other products. So, and they build them to break after 1 year. So it's like they've made you use their exclusive product that they mark up to absorb it in amounts because they'll change the configuration, but then they'll build them to break. It's such a terrible. I hate Apple.
But then you always come back. You always come back. AirDrop, never going back to Windows or anything like that. But I think the Apple hate's something we can send it all off on. Appreciate everyone in the chat. It's been a fun live. Missed the lives from the regular season. The lives are always a good bit of fun. But I think the draft will be an even another level. My words are...
Join the draft party with us.
Join
tomorrow.
The draft party because it's going to be a fun time. Raptors doing that offer for Kevin Durant that the Sixers offered there. That's the end game. We're going to see what occurs with the Toronto Raptors. But you guys are the best for making this far. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, all that cool stuff. I'm getting through the IG DMs, Riker. I've started... You haven't been on the... When's the last time you've been on the Instagram?
6 months ago.
6 months ago. I've been hot and cold on it. Started a new job, so I got distracted with the IG, but I went through at least half of them today. I tried to go through the older ones, so I apologize if we've been missing your DM or whatever on the Raptors Digest Instagram. Gotta get the TikToks back. Get all that stuff rocking. Life will be good. There's L's in the chat for Riker. What are they L?
Being on Instagram in 6 months.
Oh damn, that's tough, man. People are also throwing L's for people criticizing Loki. I respect that. Loki was great. The multiverse is... I won't spoil anything, but it's gonna be.
I've even learned my hand signs for Naruto, so I'm super into it now.
Man, I've grown.
I'm gonna get myself a shirt.
Bro, we're gonna have a cosplay duel, bro.
Yes.
On the podcast.
Yes, that needs to happen. Yeah.
It'll be fun.
I'm so far away from having a girlfriend right now that we might as well just cosplay. We'll just go and cosplay a basketball podcast and just complete it.
Get Riker a girlfriend. Send the cosplay photoshops to the hottest chick in your neighborhood. That's the challenge.
All right, sign it off here. The rails have officially been broken. We are well off of them now. It's been a pleasure, Ben. Cheers.